Well, I'm back. Did you miss me? You did? Oh, thank you very much. Well, today I'm going to be doing two things that are slightly out of the ordinary. The first is something that I don't normally do. And the second is something that you probably get told not to do. So for today's shoot, I'm off to shoot a sunset. Yes, me shooting a sunset. But I'm also going to be shooting it in eye auto mode. You know the green auto mode you have in your camera? That setting for the complete beginner? That one. Because you can't take decent pictures on that setting, can you? Of course not. Oh, and I'm also taking this sunset from a viewpoint up from a hill, or as this is the Lake District, from up a fell. I don't normally do that either. So yes, I'm climbing up a hill. And I don't really do hills. I'm knackered already. I've only just walked from the campsite. I want something else. Doesn't matter, doesn't matter. Someone please call 999 and the other one. I've got this. Oh, here I am, made to the top. This is Lowry Fell. Excuse me while I stop sweating like a pig. I suppose that's because I'm wearing a cotton t-shirt. Here's a question for you. What do you do if you're allergic to man-made fibres like nylon, viscose and that, like I am, and you have no choice but to wear cotton t-shirts which make you sweat? Answers on a postcard. Right, that's better. I've just put my dead kitten on so you can hear me properly. There's a little bit of a breeze up here. Right, well, I suppose this is where I should be saying, wow, look at those wonderful views. Isn't it amazing? Isn't it so great to be alive up here? Well, it isn't, because I think I almost died coming up here. I don't do hills at all, and that's not a very steep hill. As most of you know, Lowry Fell, as I say, I don't really get anything from these elevated views. I'm more of a sea level photographer. Is that right? I like my ground levels. I like it down below. From up here, yeah, I can see the beauty, but yeah, I could take it or leave it. But today I'm going to do this, and at sunset, I suppose I'm going to get all of this out of my system and I can carry on as normal. So what I am doing today then, as well as shooting the view, as well as shooting the sunset, is to shoot on the eye auto setting on my camera. It's obviously the setting that's, as I say, for beginners, aimed at beginners, and once you kind of master your camera, then you move away from it. But what if you are a complete beginner, but you still want to capture these wonderful views, even though you still haven't quite mastered your camera? Well, you can, and I'm here to show you how. I'm your saviour. I'm here for you. Well, the shot I actually came to get, I'm not actually going to get. The idea was to shoot this view. Hopefully you can still hear me with the breeze. Well, the wall going down there, this is the view out to Windermere here. And there was, at one time, a big, fancy, flash-looking stile that went over the wall there. Now there's just a wall with a gap. It looks like that's the remnants of it down there. So that was going to provide a fantastic bit of foreground. No longer it is. Well, I suppose at least I'm not going to get the cliche shot, the one that everybody does, just because it's different now. It's one way of looking at it. So the idea, as I say, is to shoot this at sunset where the sun will set somewhere in the sky over there. A lot of people do this at sunrise when the sun's coming in over the hill over there. But what I kind of like, even though you possibly could get some nice mist or atmosphere in the morning, which you wouldn't get in the evening, is that the sun would light this side of the wall, and I quite like the idea of this wall being in shadow. I like the contrast difference we're going to get. Hopefully if we get some sort of colour in the sky over there. You got the main view, but as long as you get some colour, this is one of those ones where I suppose the shot will benefit from a nice colour sunset. Nothing too crazy, you know what I'm like. Just a hint of colour in the sky, just to complement this landscape. And I think the view will set that off to a T. As I say, I'm not overly enthused about these kind of views. I mean, they're okay, it is what it is, but I prefer that kind of ground level landscape where I suppose you do have to work harder to make it work because you haven't got the initial glory of what this can give you. So if you are shooting with your camera on the auto, the green auto setting, you are obviously limited to the kind of settings you can change on your camera, almost none at all, because the camera's locked off and is taking full control of all the settings. Now obviously it may not tailor the shot, tailor its settings to the shoot you want to do. So there are, say, little adjustments you can make in the menus. There is on my camera, just to try and tailor it to the kind of shot that you are doing. As you're learning, as you progress with your photography, you can adjust those before going the full manual or full aperture priority mode. But one of the key things you're still going to be thinking about is compositions, and that's quite key here because I haven't got that style as the key foreground anymore. That's the shot that everybody seems to get here. That's the foreground interest. Well, I haven't got that here, so I've lost that initial bit of foreground to complement the view. So I'm having to look for something different, which is what I always do. Even if I'd got that shot with the style, I would always be looking for a different version that I don't think other people have done, and it'd be my version of this view. And so that's what I've been forced to do here. So the other key thing about this wall with the style that's not there is the little bit of a kink about halfway down. It's getting a bit of an S shape down there, and I kind of like that. So I'm trying to focus more on that. So I'm actually, instead of going for a horizontal view, which is the usual one you see here, I'm going to try a vertical. So I'm going for the kink in the wall. It's limiting what I'm getting of the wall here. The style area is totally out of shot, and so I'm using more foreground here, more rock, which again I'm trying to lead down towards the wall, which leads down towards the lake. So whilst I'm waiting here for the light here this afternoon, I'm going to do a little bit of a test shot just to see the kind of settings that the auto mode on my camera is going to give me for a final shot here. So I put a polarizer on just because the sun's off to my right, so I'm getting a nice bit of polarized sky. And so with the auto on, the camera's taking control of the shutter speed and the apertures and also the white balance and everything else. So I can see that's giving me 200th of a second shutter speed and just a 3.2 aperture. Now I know that 3.2 is not very good for depth of field, and so really I want to push that a bit further. Now I can go into the basic menu you do get on this auto setting. It gives me some adjustments to make. Obviously I'm doing this in horizontal at a different view just because I don't want to get the sun in the glaring on the screen for this as I'm showing you. So if I start from the top, I've got change color saturation, so I can change that. And as I want quite a colourful image, I'll take that off the 0 and I'll put that to the first notch up. Just give me a bit more colour in my scene. Next one down, I have change colour image, and this way you can warm this one up or cool the picture down, and that was obviously just changing the white balance in the picture, ready for your JPEG. Now I don't think I want to change that at all. Don't want to warm it up or cool it down here, so I'll leave that at 0. That's fine, I'll leave that at 0. Next one is change brightness. Now that's obviously would be your adjustment where you're doing the histogram. Obviously you don't get a histogram on this view, so if your picture looked a little bit dark or a little bit light, you could change that from the bright to dark setting just to adjust that. So you have got basic exposure control on here. It's not totally locking you out. But it's the next one down that's of more interest to me, and this is blur background. So this is telling the camera that you want to open the aperture or close the aperture, which they have blur or sharp. So what I'm going to do is go for sharp because I want a sharper background. So I'm going to take it down 3 notches. So now I've told the camera that I want more of the background in the focus, and hopefully the resulting aperture will have changed. So we'll set that, and then we'll take a second shot again, see what that gives us. So now the aperture's changed, and the aperture's now changed to f8, which is the f8 aperture that I use when I'm shooting my landscapes. So now the camera's set up for exposure and for depth of field, just as I would in aperture priority, as with anybody who's shooting typical landscapes. And I'm still in the auto mode, remember. Now the bottom, we also have some shooting tips. Now that one obviously won't apply here. No, that one, or that one. Oh, but that one might do. So what do we have here? We have 2 shooting tips. Tips for framing. Occupying 2/3 of a picture by the main subject is a good balance. Well, over here we are doing just that. We're framing 2/3 of the picture, which is the landscape, and having 1/3 sky. So yes, we are going with that tip. So thank you for that. And next tip, divide the main subject and background by a diagonal line for a natural feel. Well, we are doing that. We've got a diagonal line with a wall. We are using that diagonal line in the frame for a natural feel. So yeah, we're doing that as well. And the final one, put the main subject and others on the diagonal line for a natural feel. Well, that's what we were going to do. We were going to put the style on that diagonal line. So here we're going to go for something different, but thank you. That could have been useful for this shot. So there you go. There's me setting up the camera whilst I'm still in eye auto. I'm tailoring it for this landscape shot, and hopefully we'll still get a brilliant shot even though we're shooting in that auto mode. So if you are a complete beginner, don't worry about it. Think about your composition. There are settings within your camera. There'll be similar ones on your camera where you can tell the camera what you're trying to do, and it will help you out and get as good a shot as anybody else. Well, the clear skies aren't looking favourable for any sunset, and as the sun's over there instead of somewhere over there, we're not going to get much of a sunset anyway. I don't know why it's not over there. All the map showed it was going to be at least over there somewhere, not over there. I don't know what's gone wrong there. Anyway, but clear skies, there's going to be no sunset really, and no colour. So I kind of got away with it again, didn't I? Well, one other thing I've noticed now that we're getting more shadowed in the picture, in the total picture as the sun goes down, is that the camera is setting the ISO way too high, 1600 for this shot. But even though we're shooting in eye auto, we can still change that again. All we've got to do is go back to the menu into the express motions, and I'm going to tell it to blur motion. That's going to force it to do slower shutter speeds, and it can only do that by setting a lower ISO. So taking the picture, the ISO has now dropped down to 200. So we can still get those optimum settings even though we're shooting in this eye auto mode, a mode which is for complete beginners. So even the complete beginner can get perfect results, just like any more experienced photographer. So to answer my first question, can you take great landscapes in the eye auto setting? I think the answer is a definite yes. So the sun is now setting over here, and I thought it was going to be setting over here. I'm okay at taking landscapes, but I'm obviously terrible at predicting where the sun will be. Well, not quite the finish I was hoping for, no dramatic sunset which would have completed this picture, but that's the way it goes sometimes. Anyway, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video, which will be, let's just say, soon. Maybe.